All children to learn CPR and basic first aid in UK schools.
Here's a summary of the article.
The charity calls the move a decisive moment in the battle to improve cardiac arrest survival rates. The survival rates double in countries where CPR is taught in schools. By the time they leave secondary school, all youngsters in England will have been taught how to administer CPR, the purpose of defibrillators, and basic treatments for common injuries. Education Secretary Damien Hines said, "Learning the basic skills of first aid and techniques like CPR will give young people the confidence to know that they can step in to help someone else in need, and in the most extreme cases, it could potentially save a life. That's why we took the decision to include health education alongside relationship education for primary school children and relationship and sex education for secondary children." Simon Gillespie, chief executive of the British Heart Foundation, said, "The DFA's plans are a decisive moment in the battle to improve cardiac arrest survival rates, following years of campaigning by the BHF and others." More from UK. Introducing CPR lessons into health education in all state-funded secondary schools is a significant step that promises to improve the odds of survival for countless people who have a cardiac arrest in the future.
This post received a score of 24,981, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Okay. I learned CPR and basic first aid as a kid in the Netherlands before I was 12, and I really can't remember any of it. I feel like unless this continues into later education, it'll lose a lot of its impact. It might still inspire some kids that they want to learn more and do something with it in the future, which is awesome, but besides that, yeah,
CPR especially is something that needs to be occasionally refreshed. My CPR certificate lapsed around 1996, and I got a new one a few years ago, and there were some major changes. Much less focus on breaths and much greater focus on chest compressions, in particular. They changed it again recently too. It is no longer airway, breath, circulation. It is now circulation, airway, breath. It is still 2 breaths to 30 compressions, but circulation is now the primary focus.
Did they change it back? I got mine a couple years ago and it was all compressions after you check for a pulse. My understanding is the rescue breaths don't really do much to help. But
they're effective only if applied correctly, and it's difficult to achieve that if you're not practicing all the time. In such a scenario, continuous compressions without ventilation provide better outcome.
I'm almost positive I learned first aid in elementary through high school, in America, Minnesota.
Yes, I learned CPR, first aid, cooking, and balancing a checkbook in high school. I'm surprised to learn these things are not taught everywhere in the US. I really thought it was standard. My school was a shitty school in a farm town, too. I would have assumed nicer schools would have this as well.
I recall having first aid and CPR in elementary, middle school, and high school. Chilling in middle. No checkbook balancing. That was just basic math. Cheeky smiley face.
It wasn't a full course on checkbook balancing, it was just part of some class one had to take. I think that part didn't take more than a couple days to teach. The CPR and first aid took longer, those were part of my health class, and still only took about a week. Cooking, that was a course all on its own, but unfortunately seemed to focus almost purely on baking, which is mostly useless to me now since I don't eat bread or refined sugar.
I remember doing checkbook balancing as part of 8th grade math class. That was Michigan in 1988.
I was going through this thread trying to find a year these CPR classes and checkbook balancing were taught. I haven't heard of anything like this being taught these days, or when I was in school 10 to 15 years ago.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.